and meet his wife at the register. But the moment he heard raised voices and saw the crowd near the checkout, his instinct sharpened instantly. Years of training had taught him to read situations quickly. Something was wrong. As he moved closer, he saw Danielle being led away in handcuffs. For a moment, his mind refused to process what he was seeing. Then the words of the security guard reached his ears. Shoplifter. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. Not anger yet, just a quiet, controlled awareness. The same awareness he used during federal operations when every detail mattered. He stepped forward slowly. Excuse me, he said calmly. The officers turned toward him. Sir, step back, the taller officer said automatically. Marcus's eyes moved from the handcuffs on Danielle's wrists to the lipstick in the guard's hand. My wife doesn't steal, he said evenly. The guard scoffed. They all say that. Danielle met Marcus's eyes, a mixture of relief and embarrassment flooding her expression. Marcus, she whispered. The officer tugged her arm slightly. Sir, we'll sort it out at the station. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket. The movement instantly put the officers on alert. Hands where we can see them, the shorter officer warned. Marcus slowly pulled out a small black wallet and flipped it open. Inside was a badge that instantly drained the confidence from the taller officer's face. 3 letters gleamed under the store lights. FBI. Marcus Carter looked at them with the same calm expression. Now, he said quietly, let's start over. Before we begin this unbelievable story, take 1 second to hit that subscribe button, because stories like this prove that the truth always comes out. And sometimes the people who think they hold all the power have no idea who they're really dealing with. Imagine this. A quiet Saturday afternoon at a neighborhood grocery store suddenly turns into a humiliating public arrest. A young woman in handcuffs accused of shoplifting in front of dozens of strangers. Police officers confident they've caught a criminal, and no one in that moment realizing that the man calmly walking toward the scene, watching everything unfold, is not just her husband, but a federal agent who has spent years dismantling organized crime networks. What happens next will change every single person in that store forever. The afternoon sun filtered through the wide glass windows of the small grocery store on Maple Street, casting soft golden lines across the polished tile floor. It was the kind of quiet suburban store where most customers knew each other by face, if not by name. And Saturdays usually meant families shopping for the week, elderly couples slowly pushing carts, and the occasional tired parent trying to calm a restless child. Danielle Carter stood in the checkout lane holding a small basket with a few groceries, milk, bread, fruit, and a box of cereal. She looked ordinary in every sense of the word, dressed in simple jeans and a light sweater, her hair tied loosely behind her head. Nothing about her suggested trouble. The cashier scanned the items one by one, the small beeps of the register blending into the low hum of conversation throughout the store. Danielle reached into her purse to pull out her card when suddenly a sharp voice cut through the calm atmosphere. Ma'am, step away from the register. The voice belonged to a store security guard, a tall man with a thick mustache and a stiff uniform that seemed slightly too tight around his shoulders. Danielle blinked, confused. I'm sorry, she said politely. The guard stepped closer, his expression cold and certain. You heard me. Step away from the register. You're coming with me. The cashier froze, customers in nearby lines turning their heads as the tension in the air rose instantly. Danielle's confusion deepened. What's going on? She asked carefully. The guard crossed his arms. You know exactly what's going on. We've been watching you on camera. A murmur rippled through the store as people leaned closer to see what was happening. Danielle's eyebrows furrowed. Watching me for what? She asked. The guard's voice grew louder, as if he wanted everyone to hear. Shoplifting. A wave of whispers spread through the line behind her. Danielle felt her face flush with shock. That's ridiculous, she said quietly but firmly. I haven't stolen anything. But the guard had already signaled toward the front door. 2 police officers who had been standing outside talking suddenly stepped inside, responding to the call. The taller officer approached first, resting a hand on his belt. What's the situation? He asked. The guard pointed directly at Danielle. Caught her on camera hiding merchandise in her bag. Danielle stared at him in disbelief. That's not true, she said immediately. The second officer, a shorter man with a tired expression, sighed as if this were just another routine call. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us." Danielle held up her basket. "Everything I have is right here," she said, trying to remain calm despite the eyes now fixed on her from every direction. "You can check my bag." The guard smirked slightly. "We already planned to." Without asking permission, he reached for her purse and opened it. Danielle's heart pounded, not from guilt, but from the humiliation of being treated like a criminal in front of a store full of strangers. The guard rummaged through the bag for a moment before pulling out a small cosmetic item, a lipstick still sealed in plastic. He held it up triumphantly. "And what do you call this?" he announced loudly. Danielle's eyes widened. "I've never seen that before," she said honestly. The taller officer exchanged a glance with his partner. "Ma'am, this item hasn't been paid for," he said. Danielle shook her head in disbelief. "Because it isn't mine." But the situation was already spiraling out of control. The guard folded his arms again, satisfied. "Store cameras don't lie." The taller officer reached for his handcuffs. "Ma'am, turn around." Danielle's breath caught in her throat. "You're arresting me?" she whispered. The officer's voice was flat. "You should have thought about that before stealing." As the cold metal cuffs closed around her wrists, a ripple of gasps spread through the store. Phones quietly appeared as several customers began recording the scene. Danielle's cheeks burned with humiliation as she was guided toward the door. What none of them noticed was the man who had just walked in through the entrance moments earlier. Marcus Carter had been on the phone when he stepped into the store, his dark jacket still carrying the faint chill of the winter air outside. He had planned to grab a drink,